Good afternoon or morning, depending on where you are. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. Happy Monday. Hopefully, it's going well so far. Thanks for joining us. Get up in that webinar chat, say hi, tell us where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Today, I'm so lucky because I'm joined by Tiffany and Chris. And we are talking about some seriously cool protocols today. Hi, Anicia. Is it Anicia? Hi, Anicia. Where are you from? Everybody come in. I'm right outside of Philly. I know Tiffany, you're in Georgia. We're in
Mm-hmm.
Georgia.
Yep. South Georgia, Vidalia.
Vidalia. Okay. And I know, Chris, you're right in Dallas.
Dallas, baby.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not a Cowboys fan. How funny is that?
No,
I
that's
don't know.
good, probably
I'm
for
a,
you.
I'm a basketball girly, not really a
Yeah.
football
It can
girly.
be unhealthy to be I remember like before our Super Bowls, it was difficult to be an Eagles fan. It was hard.
Oh, wait, I'm an honorary Eagles fan. That's right. The
Mm.
Circadia girls and especially Ashley Herbine are like, if you don't have a team, you're Eagles.
You're the
So,
Eagles. We
um,
you say that we are the team of America. We are really America's team.
I mean, they feel like they have really nice people. Like a lot of the
Yes,
players seem genuinely nice.
I agree. I agree. They are really nice. Let's see. We do have some Dallas in the house. We got
Mhm.
California, New
Hey,
York,
Dallas.
Los Angeles, Fort Lauderdale, Virginia.
Ooh,
Lot of
Iowa. I've driven through Iowa many a times.
SoCal, Houston. I would like to be in SoCal right now. Oh, you know what? I
Oh,
actually love Boston as well. We got some Boston
Mhm.
Worcester.
friends.
Worcester.
Long
Portland,
Beach.
Oregon, Libby. I was just there. And on the coast of Oregon was phenomenal. Definitely recommend. Love a fire on the beach.
Hey, Houston.
Didn't know you could do that.
Canada. Oh, hey, Cass. Hey.
Uh, we have a raised hand and it's Stephanie Calhoun.
What's up?
Two raised hands. I don't know what's up. They're gone. They're gone. Hi, Stephanie.
Okay.
Michigan. What's up?
All
They were
right.
just saying hi. It's a
A
hi, maybe.
little
Little hey.
little official wave. I feel like I should bring this down like so far. My laptop is like against the wall, and then I have like the drawer with the keyboard in it, and I always feel like so far away from the screen compared to everybody else.
I just realized that your background is not a real chair.
Oh yeah, here's my chair.
How that took me way too long to notice. That's
Beautiful.
hilarious.
It's my gaming chair
Oh
because
my gosh.
I don't game.
Does it have the leg thing that comes out?
No, no, but
Oh,
it's
dang.
very back supportive for, sometimes a
Need
better
that. Oh,
chair.
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, you really need, it's
Hmm.
It
important. You gotta
looked it
take it.
looks really real. It's pretty good.
All right. Well, I guess we should get started.
Let's
Wow.
do
So
it.
this is pretty exciting. Well, I'm going to let Tiffany lead the way because we like to
Mhm.
talk about the products first and then how Rezenerate can really help impact them.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. There we go. See it? Okay, so Regenerate and FACTORFIVE, this is if they had a little baby. This is level 1. So we'll be sharing all things our new dermal solution, the nano infusion, and then the newest baby EXOFECTA. So let's see. I just want to say welcome to everyone. I truly appreciate and am honored to be here and that you're here. You could be anywhere in the world right now and you chose to be with us. So thank you and welcome. And any questions you have or any feedback, feel free to share it with us. We're here for you and to support you. And so, who am I? I'm Tiffany Underwood, Director of Education for FACTORFIVE, also a practicing and licensed esthetician. So, FACTORFIVE for me really has just changed my clinic, the results that I'm able to give to my clients. I'm very results driven. I have this philosophy that when you feel good, you do good as a human being. And so I feel like that's truly a mission that I have on this earth. And so I feel like Factor 5 has really just pushed me to do that with my clients. So I'm always on fire to talk about Factor 5, always on fire to talk about it with these colleagues and how Factor 5 works with so many other modalities and able to play well with others. So, speaking of playing well with others, I am so honored and privileged to introduce the bold, beautiful, brilliant, boisterous, can't think of another B word, but Chris Astroff, Dermascrub Educator of the Year, and who we just absolutely love and adore.
Boss.
But forgot that one. Yeah.
Love you
So,
guys. Very happy to be here and to share some of my results later and just be a little testimony to the amazingness that this little tag team duo is for having Factor 5 and Rezenerate.
thank you. Okay, so who is Factor 5? Factor 5 is a biotech company. We're located in Chico, California. That's Northern California. I feel like something that's unique and beautiful in this company is that we own and operate our own laboratory. This is really going to allow for quality control of every ingredient, every formulation. We operate our own production facility, so we're creating these formulations, we're packing these formulations, as well as shipping them. So even though we are a bigger company, it still feels like we're very much in control as if we were a small business. And that to me is just beautiful and love working with a company like that. So, what do? We humanize skincare, and how we do that is we utilize adipose-derived human stem cell growth factors and their proteins in all of our products because we fight the 5 signs of aging. Those are wrinkles, age spots, laxity, thinness, and uneven texture. So I'm going to get into what I feel like this slide, I could take an hour by itself to get into how we gather our stem cells and how we utilize those, but I'm just going to give you the short version today. So what we do, these are adipose-derived stem cells. So what is adipose? That's fat. So the fat is captured from liposuction, and in California, there is a plethora of liposuction. So we gather this from 18 to 24-year-olds that are healthy. They have gone through extensive screening. So we capture the fat, and before we even get it, we send it to an outside lab that does rigorous testing. This is a plethora of tests, as rigorous and strenuous as if they were organ donors. So that should be a peace of mind for you. Then once we have gathered that fat tissue is sent to our lab because it's been tested right, it's clean. So what we do is we take these stem cells and we put them in an environment to where they think that there is a trauma to the skin, and these stem cells, what they do is express proteins and growth factors and exosomes. So those proteins could be collagen inducing, elastin inducing. It could be growth factors. It could be MMPs. MMPs are beautiful for scar tissue breakdown, so it's going to break down collagen as it needs to. So this is just a plethora. There's over 200 proteins in order to rejuvenate and regenerate the skin. So as these stem cells have produced or excreted these proteins, we capture that, we filter off the stem cells. So I want to say that again. We capture the proteins, we capture the exosomes and the growth factors, and we do not have stem cells in our products because I feel like that's sometimes a myth. It's like, what are the stem cells? We don't have stem cells. What we capture is the proteins that actually do the work. So that is what is actually in our product. So we call this human stem cell growth conditioned media. So this conditioned media is put into all of our beautiful products. Yes.
Tiff, I would love to just interject a little bit
Yeah.
here as to one of the reasons that I chose Factor 5. So, for those of you who know me, you know that I'm all about science and I am a nerdy girly. And something that's very concerning to me about any exosome, growth factor, stem cell derivatives that we're using is the sourcing. So I had the opportunity to chat with both Tiffany as well as Dr. John and kind of grill him about the process for the safety screenings, and impeccable. The research is beautiful. And additionally, I think adipose growth factors and taking that tissue initially is a more logical approach for
Mhm.
skincare rejuvenation, because we know we have that subcute layer in the skin. So we have that fat. And that means we also are going to have better integration looking from bottom up for result wise. And additionally, I know there's another very largely popular company out there that uses their stem cells from blood donor derived and from blood. And the other difference about that is going to be your likelihood of catching some sort of issue in screening, right? You have more
Mhm.
disease-prone issues when you're working with blood that you have to be cognizant of versus into adipose tissue. So I think using adipose tissue as that first step in donor tissue is a lot safer to begin with.
Mhm.
Also, there are no live stem cells in any product or formulation. What you have are
Mhm.
secondary metabolites, okay? And likewise, we see a lot of plant stem cells. Again, that comes from wounding a plant, taking those growth factors and stem cells from there, and then again, going through a purification process. So if you're nervous about any of this, Factor5 is the company that I personally back and use in my own practice. And that's a lot of the reason why. I'll throw it back to you.
Thank you, Chris. Yes, so no live stem cells, no stem cells. It's the growth factors and proteins in our products. So this is just a depiction. Sometimes I just like to have an overview of like what a company offers. So this is just showing on the bottom tier of this pyramid. This represents our professional treatments. So we have RDS on the left, which I'm going to get into, and on the right is EXOFECTA. And then in this second tier, this is where we're going to offer post-treatment um, home care for your client. This could be post-treatment, anything. And then the top tier is retail, because what better way to really secure those results in the treatment room is sending your client home with the retail and backing to continue those results. So I'm just going to get into, for this protocol, what products from FACTORFIVE that we used. So we started off with a gel cleanser. This gel cleanser, this was actually the first product that I actually used from FACTORFIVE before it launched. And I was like, okay, it's another cleanser. Like I've tried 5 million. Like, okay, this really taught me to be open-minded as a clinician. And I used it, and I used it like 3 times in a row, just like back-to-back cleansings, just to see what it would make my skin feel like. I'm very acneic, and I do feel like some things strip my skin easily. This was perfection for me. I never felt dry. Um, I felt cleansed. It took my makeup off. So this is our only product, I will mention, that does not have the conditioned media, just because it's not on your skin long enough, right? So why would we do that? But it does have glycerin, sodium hyaluronate, green tea extract. All of this is just really formulated to soothe and just feel good and cleanse to the skin post-procedure, pre-procedure, or even in the middle. Um, so that's that.
Tiff,
And
quick
then,
question.
yeah.
People are wondering if they will be receiving a recording of this webinar after the fact.
We do release the recording of the webinar, so it takes like an hour after it ends for it to upload back to the Zoom cloud. So you can access it right away by that you use to join this presentation. And then I will also be sending out a recap email with the link to the recording. And then Tiff, I'll provide
Yeah.
you the full list of all people who registered, as well as that recording link as well. So you can share that too.
Okay.
Chris,
Yeah.
if you want it.
Thank you.
Wait, you keep
Okay,
freezing.
you got it.
Oh,
Wait, you
Is it
froze.
me? I froze?
Yeah, Kelly, what'd you say to me?
Oh, I said, and if you want it, you got it. Just let me know.
Yeah,
thank you.
girl, I want it.
Okay. So the next step in this protocol that we used was renew dermal solution. Renew Dermal Solution is a two-step chemical peel. So RDS1 is the first step in this process. And this is really going to be your 29% trichloroacetic acid or TCA. It's going to act as your exfoliator in the skin and really just boost collagen production. Um, it's going to be driven in by some hydrogen peroxide. I like to think of hydrogen peroxide as like a little classroom disruptor, right? Our cells don't particularly like it. So it's a little bit of a disruption so it can remodel itself. Kojic acid, this is going to help with melanin, inhibit the melanin production, really brighten the skin. And then we also have a peptide in here that acts as an antioxidant, but I really see it help with skin texture. Again, I know I'm going fast through this because I could spend a whole day just talking about RDS. I love this product so much. This was the second product that I ever tried from FACTORFIVE, and this is truly what set my practice apart from so many others in the way that I was able to deliver results. Yeah.
I would also like to say, as a practicing esthetician, I think a lot of us may have tried several different TCA peels that are on the market, right? And I'll speak for myself. I had tried one where I really didn't get the results that I was seeing other practitioners get in terms of pigmentation. I maybe had some good results for acne, but just really wasn't getting the anti-aging results personally in my practice or the pigmentation. And the RDS has been so much better for me personally and the results that I'm getting. And one of the biggest things that I notice with doing the RDS, especially as a series,
Hmm.
is the volume building that I'm seeing, especially like in the cheek area and the
Yeah.
jawline, which is unparalleled. And also from like again a safety standpoint, personally, I used a different competitor, and there was some controversy over them changing the percentage of the TCA in the formula. And the
Hmm.
big issue that I personally had and decided not to use the batch that I had just received is because when talking to my rep in the company, asking which batch and with my batch number, which percentage did I have, and they couldn't tell me. So for me, that's
Hmm.
also a really big red flag, right? Like I needed to know, was this going to be the same strength or weaker? So can I guarantee the same results?
Hmm.
Whereas RDS, I feel like everything FACTORFIVE does is with integrity as well as
For sure.
Rezenerate. And RDS, if you haven't tried it yet, I highly recommend. This is what got me hooked on the brand. And thank you, Tiffany, for getting me hooked on it.
Yeah. And that I did forget to mention, thank you for saying that, was like the indications for this. And so I do like to take it back to, the five signs of aging. So I do feel like it helps with laxity and firmness and thinness, helps increase all of that, as well as acne. I mean, I have seen it do wonders for acne and aging and pigment. So I feel like for me, this was like a go-to. It's awesome for scarring. So it is a go-to for me. So once you apply the RDS1, that's your penetrating step, that's your chemical peel. You would leave that on the skin 5 to 7 minutes. You would remove that with water, even though it is self-neutralizing, it does have a tendency to have a tackiness. And because we have a second step to this, this is how we're, different in the marketplace, you would remove this. So the second step, RDS2, is the calming solution. I feel like this really just sets FACTORFIVE apart. This step has your human stem cell growth factor conditioned media. You've just somewhat wounded the skin, right? You've created a trauma in some channels with this chemical peel. And one thing that, you can notice yourself as a clinician, not everyone heals the same, right? So like an older person, maybe with an underlying condition they don't even know that they have, might not heal as well as, say, Chris and um, Kelly, who are young bucks over here. But with this calming solution that has these stems that we're really nourishing and feeding the skin and those channels with what they need to calm inflammation and promote healing. So within this formulation, you're going to have copper peptide, which there's so many studies on how this promotes wound healing and collagen formation, and white tea and green tea extract that are really going to heal the skin and just soothe and calm it. And it's going to feel amazing. The first time I used this product, I have it on video because I was a little skeptical of using a Renew solution, and I used it on a Fitz 1, and she did kind of pink up. She had a little bit of erythema on step 1. Removed it and applied RDS2, and it was like within 2 minutes, she was instantly calm. So it looked like she had never had any kind of trauma to the skin, and she walked out, honestly, from the skin scanner 2 years younger on the scanner. I was floored and amazed. So it really does work.
I have to say too, my pro tip on this, put it in the fridge. If
Oh,
you
yeah,
have
yeah,
a
yeah, for
fridge,
sure.
like it feels so good being cold on the face. And
Hmm.
also if you're dermaplaning and you have someone that kind of pinks up, I've also used this post dermaplaning. Again, that cold feels so good.
Hmm.
I
Love
don't know
that.
why. You should have told me. I would have got right in the skin scanner after that treatment. I don't know if you know.
I know.
We, I have a competition with Carlene that we were like from Vegas to the next time we get in that skin scanner, see who's younger.
Oh,
And
I
this could have
got you.
really, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll
Goes
have to.
home and
Make me,
RDS and regenerates
yeah.
every night.
Well, I think she did. I think Tiffany did make me 2 years younger, and I just didn't get the proof. So
Bright and
I'm really
light and tight and
sorry.
Kelly. You're muted.
I said, that's right.
Okay, now EXOFECTA, this is the newest baby of the bunch. I know you're not supposed to have favorites with your kids, and these aren't like my kids, but this one is my kid. I love her so much. So, EXOFECTA is a play on words. So it's exosomes and the perfect treatment trifecta. So it's going to have your exosomes, your growth factors, and that copper peptide is just uh, my favorite ingredient right now. Um, so really how you could utilize this is it could be a treatment all on its own. So I have had people or clients come in and they're severely compromised, or they're like a grade 4 acne, and you really might not feel comfortable just going in and doing a chemical peel or going in and doing anything really. This treatment is a go-to for me. It's very healing, it's calming. It can be used with anything else that you're adding. So in this protocol, it's amazing to add. Um, I'm trying to think what I'm missing here. Because this is a two-step. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh,
Were
so
you
my
gonna say?
bad.
Oh.
I was just gonna say the copper peptide is really great to have in there because
Yeah.
it's going to enhance your collagen synthesis,
Mm-hmm.
because copper peptide's required to have that collagen mature and to form. So that's really important. And I think that's beautiful design wise. The other thing I was going to say is that if you read the scientific white papers, which
Mm-hmm.
I do,
Mm-hmm.
all of the scientific research shows that exosomes are highly unstable. And that's
Right.
why this preparation is personally the only one that I trust. When
Yeah.
people try and say they make shelf stable exosomes, like, I'm sorry, the scientific research of us looking at even medical drugs that we're working with, all of that research shows it is unstable and it needs to be incredibly cold to keep it stable. So the preparation of this and having it
Right.
be packaged this way and
Right.
activated is the only thing that makes sense to me scientifically.
Exactly. That brings me that's like the biggest point that I forgot was the lyophilization of this product. So how we do it is, we take this condition, we call it dynamic cultured media, and it's these growth factors, these exosomes, and then we mix it with this copper peptide and we freeze it. We freeze it with the liquid nitrogen, and we make these awesome beads. Your clients absolutely love to see them mixed together, and then freeze dry it. So that is how we keep it stable. That's how we're able to make this product. And then, of course, we have the sterile water and sterile sodium hyaluronate. So this truly is a sterile um, product. Okay.
Someone's asking if it needs to be stored in the fridge.
It does not. I do only because I have no room in any of my cabinets anymore. But no, this is a shelf stable product.
Okay, and when she says shelf stable, the reason it is, because I know y'all are like, wait, what? Is because it's freeze dried and you're
Right.
reactivating it. So you're
Yeah.
essentially, when you're doing that, you're putting it to sleep. Okay. You're taking that exosome and you're putting it to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And until you hydrate it, it's not going to wake back up. So think of this,
Correct.
if any of you are Circadia people and know me from Circadia, it's the same concept as our enzymes that we use, where we have a powder and a liquid that we're activating at time of application, so we
Mm-hmm.
can guarantee the results. Someone's also asking, does our
Oh my gosh, I didn't hear anything you said. I think you froze.
someone was asking if RDS has to be refrigerated. I personally have mine in the fridge.
Yes, RDS 1 has to be refrigerated. I just keep them together and put RDS 1 and 2 in there. It feels delightful. So yes. Okay, that's it on that. Questions on that? Okay. So next in the lineup is our growth factor face mask. Beautiful mask. It's going to have your growth factors. It's going to have a little bit of peppermint oil for cooling effect, some green tea extract. This just fits to the skin very nicely. There's enough serum, but not too much serum, so I feel like it really adheres to the skin, and it works beautifully with the Rezenerate cold globes. And this can be used post-treatment. You can retail this product if you'd like to.
It's a nice pick me up too at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like a gentle like awakening to the end of the treatment.
Yeah, you just didn't get to enjoy yours long enough, but
I know. They were like pushing me back
wake
by
up, go back to work. Um,
Um, there's a question
yeah,
on it, how long can RDS be unrefrigerated?
I would say like up to a day. But as soon as you get it, I would just, use it, put it in the fridge, take it out, use it. That's okay.
Another question on the percentage. I think they're
Mhm.
asking percentage of TCA and RDS.
29%. Okay, so 7-day post-treatment kit. So what this is a retail product for you can include it in your pricing with your procedures, or you can retail it. A lot of my clients like to use this for travel for their clients. If they're going somewhere, they'll just buy one of these kits. They get a face mask with this, and then they get an awesome lineup and an introduction to our retail products. So, and you can see when you open up this beautiful box, then it tells you from day 1 to day 7 every little detail that they need to use, like when to use their mask, when to use the cleanser. The post-treatment serum is in here and the silk. So it has this awesome lineup to really set your client up for success, for results, and then also revenue for you. So I feel like it's really a no-brainer. I just suggest go ahead and have it in your pricing and just send your clients home with it. Then there's no room for error. Okay. And then I just want to touch really quickly on the bonus products of this package. Um, these are 2 retail products that are included in the package. So Regenerative Serum is a bestseller. I love this girl. She is a multitasker. She's going to have that conditioned media. She's going to have sodium ascorbyl phosphate, which is your vitamin C. It's going to have some hyaluronic acid, some peptides. All this in a really nice absorbent serum. That's a multitasker. So I have a lot of clients, they want a one and done. And this is their day serum I use for them since it does have antioxidant support. Um, so within this kit, like you could use this as a tester, you could use this in your back bar, or you could give it to one of your clients and just say, hey, here's a product. I want you to try it and give me feedback. And then our other bonus product you probably heard about, it's another bestseller, is our eye and lash cream. So this is like really, I call it a twofer, but it's like a 3-in-1. So it really helps with brightening and firming of the under eye and lid area and the texture of the skin, but it's also going to grow your lashes and your brows. And it's prostaglandin free, so I mean, you would feel comfortable letting, your teenagers use this or anyone use this. They're not going to have any kind of irritation or fat loss. And for me, that is like a must. So, um,
Also, it's perfect for those clients where they are the going like out the door client where they're
mhm,
not going to take the time to do like a lash and brow serum and an eye.
right. Yep. Okay, Chris, this is star of the show. I'll let you take it from here on your beautiful before and afters.
We do have two questions in the Q&A.
Okay.
I don't know. What is the formula that allows, what is in the formula that allows no downtime?
Are we referring to RDS or?
ODS, yeah. It's the typical, they follow that up by saying the typical TCA causes lots of exfoliation.
So this is really causing a dermal, trying to think of the word, a dermal turn on. So we're turning on the fibroblasts. We're turning on, so we're not blistering like the epidermal layer. So there is some exfoliation and you could get some flaking, but there's not any downtime because you're not blistering anything.
So, also to speak to that, I think that something that's important to think about is this is obviously a buffered TCA,
Mm,
right? At
okay.
29%.
Mm-hmm.
If you did like a reagent grade 99% purity
Mm-hmm.
TCA at that percentage, like yeah, we're
Even
gonna
an
have some
8.
yeah, we're gonna have some
Yeah.
crazy downtime. So
Yeah.
it's a buffered, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's also about the delivery system and mechanism of how it's integrating into the skin.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Um, let's talk about these results. So this is after pairing Rezenerate and our beautiful RDS treatment. And this is after 2 sessions with this beautiful client of mine who has so graciously signed a photo release and is letting us view her beautiful before and afters. As you can see, I don't manipulate the photo in terms of lighting or editing, etc. When you're looking on the top photo, that's going to be the before, the bottom photo is going to be the after. That being said, when I did this, it's a little different than the protocols that our beautiful educators here came up with. I was kind of going off script and then we kind of all came together and I was like, well, I've been being a little aggressive. So for clients of mine, if I'm doing just RDS treatment alone, which I don't really do anymore because I'd like to pair it with Rezenerate, but I called it my like no downtime peel for if it was just RDS. And that was true. But then I have clients that I was like, let's play with this together. And so what I did, especially for this client and kind of what I do now, which I will say it creates more downtime, and they will sometimes get what I call like a hot spot, and I can show you a picture of what that looks like as well. Where it's just an area where we're going a little bit harder on, and it's going to have a little more healing and even slight little, I feel like the word scab is very scary, but it's just like a little extra healing there. So with this client in particular, this is what we did. So double cleanse of your choice. Then I went in with my Rezenerate. And so I would do a section at a time, and I had my RDS one loaded up in my syringe with my Luer lock tip. Obviously, when I'm doing this treatment, I have eye protection on my client. Okay. This is one of my biggest pet peeves in the industry is seeing people apply any sort of peel with a syringe and a Luer lock tip because the Luer lock tip is not drop proof.
Mm-hmm.
Passing over their face to go to their cheek, that can have a drop risk for the eye, and heaven forbid that happens to you and your client, right? So safety first, goggles are on. I'm occluding areas like right around the nasolabial fold, vermilion, then just occlusion around the ocular as well. When I'm doing this, I'm regenerating one section at a time, and then I will wipe off my high-res glide and apply my RDS 1 to that area, massage it, and then I'm moving into my next section with my Rezenerate personally. And then again, wiping and applying. And so once I am fully through the face, I am taking any excess RDS solution that I have and doing an additional pass over all of those areas, making sure it's setting for its appropriate time, about that 5-minute mark. And then I'm removing with cool sponges and water. And I personally put those sponges and that little water in my fridge as well. So it's really nice and cool. And then I'm applying my RDS too. I then put their little goggles on again, and I am using a light stem LED panel where I am using red and infrared light as well for at least 10 to 15 minutes after this treatment. And I'm sending them home with a sheet mask as well to do in the next 2 to 3 days as they're in that healing process. I'm doing these as a series of 6. They are being done every other week because I want to have enough healing time for them. But something that's really interesting to note about this client and what I want to kind of photo modeled. On the top photo, you're seeing a lot of characteristic glycation, right? And a lot of that cross hatching. And so, especially in the chin, we were seeing that as well. And just the remodeling was phenomenal. When we moved over to this middle picture here, and if we're chatting about this, we're really working on the depth of that scar on her upper lip. And so that and the nasolabial area has really refined. Also, you'll notice her pigmentation evening. So this is really beautiful for her. And on the right side, we have her forehead before and after. And so those lines are fading. You're seeing the pigmentation smooth out. And I'll also be cropping together and splicing together her entire series. We'll do a little write-up that we can release from both Rezenerate and FACTORFIVE that we can, I'm sure, have sent out to all of you who are on this webinar so you can see final results after 6. I'm a big fan of doing 3 or 6 of things because you're not going to see the same difference after 1 typically. After 2, we had a beautiful result and it's just getting better. Now, I will say, let me find this little text for her because she sent me a photo. And something to say as well is her wife, who we're also doing this on, she has a lot of German ancestry, and so I can do the Rezenerate and the RDS to her in the same way. Right here also has some prior health stuff going on that has aged her skin in a drastic way from being a cancer patient and going through chemotherapy in the past. So it the result wise. But let me show you so you can see. And this lasted, 2 or 3 days. And this is also what you'll notice is the kind of the pinkness and redness areas where we went a little extra pass or 2 on that Rezenerate.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So you can see
Yeah. You do
that,
have an interesting technique. Yeah.
yeah, not crazy. Um, I'm sorry if I'm glitching. I'll try and put this in the chat as well. Aggressive approach. I don't
Yeah, it seems to be getting worse.
Yeah. Beautiful
these
results.
results and how aggressive I was with this.
Beautiful, Chris. Thank you. Okay, you ready for him?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Can you see that?
All right, now I'm good.
Okay.
Okay. Somebody's asking, what are you using for the glide with the Rezenerate before applying RDS1? I am using the high res glide from Rezenerate.
I love that glide.
So what you're seeing here for this gentleman, who has also graciously signed a photo release, and we have just finished up his series of 6. This is not his before and after with 6. This is
Mhm.
3, I believe. And one of the reasons I am still waiting on to post the final picture of 6 is because I spotted a precancerous lesion on his nose. So
Okay.
he had to get that removed off, and we're waiting for that to fully heal. I have him on a lot of the FACTOR5 products to facilitate that healing. And so he'll be coming in, I think, next week for final photos.
Nice. Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, and then we'll get you guys those before and afters as well.
Mhm.
So this lovely gentleman had a lot of insecurity about the scarring in his cheek area from acne of his teen years. And he is in his 60s. So, and also like really wasn't using very much skincare. He was using, oh gosh, what was it? It's like sold at Sephora, or not Sephora. It's sold at Sally Beauty. It's Murad, I think. He
Oh,
was
okay.
using like Murad just because he is a hairstylist. So, anywho, and also wasn't using any products that were right for him, just kind of like,
Mhm.
doo-doo, sounds good.
Willingly.
So we got him onto the FACTOR5 products, and initially his first 2 treatments were just RDS alone. As I was kind of playing with it, testing it to see where we were going. And then we decided to start with the Rezenerate and doing that same protocol where I'm regenerating an area, wiping it off, and then applying that RDS1 solution
Hmm.
and continuing
Okay.
on. And so for him, something that's really nice to note is looking at the proximity and the raise in his cheekbone
Yeah.
and that collagen that we stimulated there, also the softening of that scar tissue. He used to wear his hair like down to try and kind of hide and cover, and now he's been wearing it back and like doesn't feel like he needs to hide. So really impactful for him. On his
Yeah.
forehead, something that I found really interesting, and you'll kind of have to look to see, it's in the midline right above the left brow. You'll see that's actually a sebaceous hyperplasia, which is when the oil gland gets a
Mhm.
little wild and kind of deforms. And in the after, you'll notice that it looks a lot softer and a lot flatter. So very excited to compare his final photos and look at the refinement because as we know, those sebaceous hyperplasias, they increase as we age. And unless you have an electrocautery machine or are doing the where they freeze it off, the little liquid
Cryo.
nitrogen, et cetera,
Yeah.
or cryo, that's really the only way you're going to be able to treat it. So I think this is also really beautiful in your arsenal to try and soften that appearance for the skin. And then on the far right picture, you're seeing his left side. I know it appears as if it's almost more wrinkled, but what is going on there is we were laughing quite a bit right before this photo. Like we were cracking some jokes. And so I should have honestly just kind of given a quick little like smooth everything out muscular wise and whatnot. But look at the rise in his cheek too.
And the brightness and something that
Yeah.
you said that really just brings it home for me is when you said like how he does his hair differently because of his confidence. And I truly believe like that is why we're all here. It's number one results and confidence boost for our clients. And I just am really thrilled that like Factor 5 could do that and Regenerate.
It's a powerful pairing, and
Yeah.
so I like to always say be progressive, not aggressive. So start with the protocols that these beautiful ladies
Mhm.
have designed for you. Make sure you understand and do the education for your Regenerate device
Mhm.
before you get started, and you're gonna have some amazing results. I can't wait to see what you do.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay. And to apply for a wholesale account, just go to wholesale.factor5skin.com and we'll be happy to meet you there. And any questions or anything that we can do to support you or anything, questions after this or later, please feel free to reach out to me or reach out to Factor 5.
A quick question in here is, am I concerned about using the growth factor step with him since he has precancerous growths? No, for that little precancerous growth, it's nothing serious. It's also similar to actinic keratosis that
Mhm.
we also develop more of, and it's just catching it. Even with something like squamous cell, it's a localized situation and a localized mutation, so it's not a factor that I'm worried about um, for him. And likewise, I we got oncologist approval and write-off for my beautiful woman who we were doing, even though she is in a period for her where she's cleared to do things. We still got oncologist sign off, and it was really funny actually because the oncologist like Googled the heck out of me, and I was like, you can call me. And then he was like, she's legit. Do it. You can do it. And actually, she sees him coming up soon, so I'll let you know what he says about her skin because I'm sure he'll say something. Um, and also people are asking how much do I charge for one of those? So for the RDS and Rezenerate, the RDS alone, I charge 225, and with them together, I'm charging about 275 because I also am adding a little extra time to have that LED light as well. The other lady, another question, the other lady did not have skin cancer. No, she is a breast cancer patient. Back to y'all.
All right, let's dive in here. So, a lot of you have been asking what is Rezenerate, so we'll get into that. But I first like to just highlight a little bit about the stratum corneum. Obviously, a reminder, of course, it is that two-way waterproof barrier that is really going to limit the passage of fluid and electrolytes from the underlying tissues to the outside environment. It helps prevent water loss. It prevents the entry of harmful chemicals and toxins. But with that, it also helps to prevent the absorption or really penetration is probably a better word of a lot of the ingredients that we apply. So, percutaneous penetration, or PP, is the term that applies to the amount of substance that actually passes through the stratum corneum versus the amount of substance that we apply to the skin. And typically, this is pretty low, industry average wise. We used to quantify this, but honestly, it was really a pretty gross simplification to quantify it just because between the different products that there are, the different ingredients there are, the amount of variables in terms of the person, the application area, how long the product is left on really impacts how much it's able to penetrate past the stratum corneum. But typically, when we're in a treatment, most of our serums and moisturizers, our masks have a very low penetration rate. And unfortunately, the clinical effectiveness of the ingredients and products that we apply topically is dependent on their ability to get into the skin and work with the body and those lower layers. So, something that was a goal of ours to increase with the Regenerate device. So, a lot of times it's really hard for people to understand the size of nanotechnology, and especially compared to microneedling. So, it's really very small, like super, super small. So, when we're thinking about 1 millimeter, it is actually 1 million nanometers to equal that. So, is significantly smaller than the millimeters that we're working with when we're using microneedling or microchanneling devices. And the nanoscale is really something that is invisible to the naked eye. So it's not something that we have like a lot of reference for or can even really kind of like quantify or understand how significantly small that it truly is. So looking at this scale, this will kind of hopefully help. When we're looking at an atom, it's actually a little bit lower than a nanometer. Atom size vary, and everything on here really varies, right? So the sizes of atoms depend on the atom. The molecule size is going to be dependent on the molecule. The virus size is going to be dependent on the virus. So for this, I looked up the largest atom, which is cesium. Hopefully, I said that right. And that is going to be about zero point 0.3 nanometers in size. So tiny. Then we have specific molecules like our DNA, and that's going to be the width of the DNA, not the length. The length is very long. So the width of that DNA is going to be about 2 nanometers in size. And similarly with our protein molecules, those are also going to be about 2 nanometers in size. Viruses can vary. So taking a look at some of the smallest viruses, porcine circovirus is just an example. It's something that affects animals, and that's about 17 nanometers in size. Viruses are usually a lot larger than this. So this is going to be on the smaller side. And then in between those smaller molecule, well, larger molecules and smaller viruses, we're going to have our true blue tips. So hopefully you can see here on the surface of that blue core, there is kind of a dark chip. It's a monocrystalline silicon material, so it's 99% pure monocrystalline silicon. And on the surface of that chip, there is pyramids formed all over that. Each of those pyramids is going to be between 2 and 20 nanometers in size. So between the sizes of certain molecules and our smaller viruses. So pretty small. Visually, what we have to compare that to is a strand of hair. This strand of hair is going to be one that's like typically coming from our head. We have a lot smaller strands of hair as well, like our vellus hair and things like that. So when thinking about like our strands of hair growing from our head, they're going to be about 80,000 nanometers in size. So significantly larger than the 2 to 20 nanometers that the true blue tip, the tops of those are going to be, and then often compared to microneedling. And when we're thinking about microneedling, I'm talking about the widths of those needles again. They can be about 100,000 plus nanometers in size. 100,000 is going to be the smallest, and they're going to go up from there. When we're thinking about the length of the microneedle, it's a lot different because, or the microchannel, because we're going to be able to adjust that. So if we're working at about a 0.25 millimeters, that's going to be about 250,000 nanometers. So when we're just micro channeling at that 0.25 millimeter and then we're regenerating, it's going to be regenerating at about 2 to 20 nanometers, while we're going to be micro channeling or micro needling, depending on your belief in that, at 250,000 nanometers in size. So significantly different. And not just size, but that is one of the major components. So this is going to be the true blue tip magnified. You'll see all those little pyramids all over the surface. Those pyramids are going to be what is between the 2 and 20 nanometers in size. They all are identical in shape, size, dimension, in their space apart. And what they do is they're going to come in contact with the stratum corneum. And as they do that, they'll create channels all within that stratum corneum that are going to be present for about 15 to 20 minutes. So because it is so small in size, we're creating such a small channel that it's really only lasting for that 20-minute period. So it's more a disruption to the waterproof function than an injury. It's not going to be stimulating any sort of like collagen induction therapy or anything like you would expect from microneedling or microchanneling. So the goal with nanotechnology is really just to disrupt that waterproof function of the skin and increase the product absorption. So that's what we're doing, and it applies to whatever we put on the skin immediately before we infuse, during that infusion session, and then that 15 to 20-minute window after we do the infusion. So if we apply what we call a target serum typically first. Now, in this situation with Factor 5, this is a really truly unique protocol. So it's one of the reasons why we're so excited for this partnership. But in the other protocols that you may be doing with Rezenerate, typically you're going to be applying a serum and then doing your infusion with a glide followed by a mask. In this protocol, we're going to be using the RDS. So during this time, we're going to be increasing that penetration rate, so that PP that we talked about earlier, and that is going to be increased up to 25 times greater. So depending on that ingredient or product's ability to penetrate, it's really going to increase that, and it can do so up to 25 times that product's ability to penetrate. Um, so how do I explain this to clients? So typically we don't go into that explanation of nanotechnology and the size and what it does to the skin, but we really just let them know that a lot of times we're not getting all of the product that we apply to the skin penetrated plastostratum corneum. And I also don't say that either. I just say that our skin is a barrier and it prevents a lot of our products from being absorbed. And with this treatment, I can have your skin act like a sponge, really drink up all those goodies that we've selected are best for you, and get you the results that you're looking for in less treatments very comfortably. So faster, better results in a really super comfortable treatment. And that's how I pitch it to them. And so here is a greater look at the comparison of microneedling and microchanneling and nanotechnology. So in the industry, we typically accept microchanneling as about 0.25 millimeters up to about 1.25 millimeters. And then from 1.5 millimeters up to about 3 millimeters, we'll consider that microneedling. So in either case, whether we're microchanneling or we're microneedling, we are still going to expect some sort of collagen induction therapy. We are still creating a controlled injury within the skin that is going to trigger our wound healing cascade. We're going to stimulate the production of collagen and elastin. And that is really a benefit of that treatment, right? We're looking for that collagen induction when we're doing those therapies. With Rezenerate, as you can see, we have those three pyramids, the three blue pyramids here. They're only working within the stratum corneum, so just that first layer of the epidermis. And this is one thing that I try to explain to people who have a problem with the state board and whether things are in scope of practice for them, is I try to let them know to go ahead and explain to the inspector, which is sometimes not helpful, and sometimes even further to the board, that it is something that is working within the stratum corneum. It does not pass through the stratum corneum. It's only creating those channels just within the SC, and it's no metal, no injury. So it should be, there's no needles, it's needle free. So it should hopefully be within scope of practice for everybody.
I'd like to also just say that you do have clients that are afraid of pain and afraid of needles and things. And so Rezenerate is such a beautiful alternative option for them. And also, microneedling also has complications that you have to think about with things like numbing, which I also found out somebody recently who is a potential client was telling me she's getting microneedled without numbing cream. And I was like,
I did at 0.25.
I feel like that's still Rezenerate is so
Feel it.
comfortable. Like I
Yeah.
I
can't,
did feel it. I
you
did feel
know,
it.
Yeah. You
yeah.
feel it, but
Well,
But
like
I didn't
you're
get.
tough. You're a tough girl.
You know what? It's so funny because I didn't know this until like recently. And because it's with clients, like I'm like, oh, do you want to do this? They're like, no. I'm like, no. I'm like, oh, I thought like after I do it, like add another layer. They're like, oh no, I don't want to do that. I'm like, okay. So to Chris's point, like I did think a lot of people wanted to do like things that I could handle or tolerate, and they don't. They really want to enjoy their facial.
Plus, like at least in Dallas in my market, like I don't have a lot of people that want to walk around that one, it's an expensive treatment to microneedle. And then secondly, I also have a lot of people that don't want the downtime of the redness and kind of that even 48 hours to,
Yeah, even
a
48
little
hours.
longer.
It's hard
Exactly.
sometimes, yeah. Which I didn't think at first because I worked mainly for the manufacturer before I ever went into practice for myself. And then I was like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
0? No, they're like, no, I want to be
Ooh,
glowy and beautiful, and I don't even want to be red at the end of this treatment. I'm like, okay, you
exactly.
got it. You got it.
Kelly, someone is asking, and so I'd love your input on this. I can
Mhm.
I can tell you mine as well, but they're saying I've had some chapping with the Rezenerate. That's so much better than my little scabbing word, chapping. That's exactly right. And haven't used it in a while, hoping for more on how to avoid that.
So
Okay.
for sure,
Yeah.
if you're having it and you're not like Chris, kind of actively knowing that you're going a little bit deeper in an area, if you're just doing that standard like crosshatch pass and you're getting chapping, that's usually something that is unexpected. So I would say a couple things to you. One, I always treat the entire face on low. A lot of people don't. They'll go up to a little bit higher on other areas, but I feel like master low before you go up to medium. And even though I've mastered every speed, I still usually do the entire face on low. Um, the other thing I would say is how much glide are you using? Because you need a lot, like a lot. People ask me how much I use, and I'll start with like 10 to 12 pumps of the glide, like I use a lot of it. And you want
Mhm.
to make sure that you're applying it in those sections immediately before you do it. So if you're getting any drag, any resistance, and sometimes even when you have a lot of glide, if you have somebody with really textured skin, you will still kind of like get that like grip a little bit almost. And even in that case, I add more glide. There's sometimes where I'll like scoop it and with like a more like a square brush, I'll like scoop it a little bit and like, or even the tougher fan brush and like sit it on there. And so, what is the Glide? The Glide is a hyaluronic acid serum that you're going to use to apply in the area immediately before you go over it with the Rezenerate device. And we will talk about that a little bit more in a minute. We have glides that you can use. They're 65% clinical grade hyaluronic acids. They have very few ingredients in them, so very well tolerated by all your clients and easy to combine if you want to do one or two target serums. You don't have to worry about any other like ingredient kind of interfering from the glide because it's just that HA, phenoxyethanol, and water, and then we have the copper peptide in the other blend. So don't paint the whole face because it will dry up. Definitely paint
Yep.
those areas. I like to do on low. I like to make sure if I'm using any sort of physical exfoliant that that thing is completely and 100% removed. You don't want any granules like getting in the tip at all. Um,
I
the
think,
more
Kelly,
Chris.
this is a great little spot because someone also said it feels like it like sucks up the glide and gets into the tip cartridge.
Mhm.
And it's an issue if you have something like an exfoliant bead or something get in there that's
Mhm.
jamming it. But just the high res, like just the glide agent, the hyaluronic acid, even if you see it all in there, like that's not a problem.
Mhm.
Um,
And it's not a lot of it. So it's like while the tip may be like taking a little bit of glide at a time, like it's not a significant impact to the amount that you should have on the skin. If you feel like it's stealing your glide, you don't have enough to begin with.
yeah,
I would
I agree.
I would also say don't go outside and run. That is exactly what you said don't do, and I went outside and
Oh
ran.
yeah. Oh, there's another thing actually. Now that I actually have like somewhere there's like the 5 Ps I say, like your protocol, but also your pattern. So like your treatment pattern. A lot of people kind of will do like microderm style passes, or like the microneedle circles. I really discourage against that. One, we don't want any pressure applied, right? We're really just trying to disrupt that waterproof function of the stratum corneum. We don't need to apply any pressure. We're allowing that tip to meet the skin, and it's going to create those channels by doing that oscillation on its own. So we're very just lightly making contact with the device. And the patterns that we recommend are in 1 inch little areas. So we'll do kind of like our little vertical, like 3 vertical, up and down, up and down, up and down, and then left and right, left and right, left and right in that little 1 inch area. And then pick up if you're new and reset and move to your next area because it will really help you control your pressure. But if you're doing like a longer pass, especially as you go over like the curvier areas of the face, you tend to apply pressure because you want to keep contact. It's natural. And that's where you'll get streaking. That's where you get redness. Sometimes you'll get a little chapped in those areas. And then, like Tiffany said, I always tell people to avoid heat and sweat for 24 hours. Sometimes we can't. We live in a hot area. So just know, like, if they walk outside, they are going to feel, especially if they sweat, they'll feel like a little prickliness. When they get inside, they can definitely cool their skin down. If they sweat profusely, I would definitely wash and reapply your skincare. But get that sweat off the skin, just cold compress, you're going to be fine. But if you go hard and you go do a workout, there may be a lasting redness there, and the treatment feels really comfortable. So sometimes you think you can work out. You kind of think you can do things. When you sweat, it does not feel comfortable. It feels sunburny.
Oh.
Yeah. So don't do it. And with neck treatments, I actually tell people 3 days because the neck takes a little bit longer of a time, tends to hold the redness, a little bit more vascular. So especially with our clients who are going through menopause, and we definitely want to treat the neck, right? We're doing a full thing. We want to treat the neck for them. I'm like, listen, I know you're going to be hot while you're sleeping. Get an extra fan if you can. Take off your jewelry. If you're a psycho sleeper like I am, and you're going to be tossing and turning all night, don't have on any tight or itchy clothing. Wear something super soft and loose. And I'll tell them to avoid the gym for 3 days. Because sometimes people, especially if they're hot or they're going through hot flashes, they'll wake up from sleeping. And after a neck treatment, they'll be a little bit flushed in the neck. They may be even able to see where the device went. All they're going to need to do is cool the skin. They're going to feel beautiful afterwards, but it can be a little bit alarming for them. So I just let them know 3 days, we don't work out for the neck, 1 day for the face. And if you do get hot, just kind of cool yourself down and you're going to be fine.
I think one of the things that I've experienced as well is on the bony processes. So like on the cheekbone, on the forehead, um, sometimes on like the chin right here. I find even with doing Rezenerate alone, I could have a little of like that chapping or a little more of that like 24-hour pinkness in those areas. And you have to remember too, like that's also a bony process. So if someone naturally doesn't have as much fat there and like the anatomy of the face is very different per person. So someone may have more fat in the apple of their cheek as opposed to like right below that ocular ridge. And so they may be more prone to have that redness through their facial fat distribution. So that's something to consider. And again, I like to just tell clients you may have 24 hours with a little bit of pinkness. Um, LED light, I find really cuts that down. And then in terms of like the chapping thing, giving them a sheet mask, whether I'm doing Rezenerate alone or absolutely when I'm doing the Rezenerate and the RDS treatment together, them having a sheet mask that's nice and hydrating to do, 2 to 3 days after, or even that next day is makes all the difference for that healing process. And I dropped that photo in the chat of her directly the next day after the treatment, and that you could see the areas where we spent a few extra passes to try and get an even more advanced result. And she did the sheet mask that day and then went to bed, and then the next day was good to go. So there, don't be afraid if that happens, but always, I feel like, go that extra little step to mention like, if this occurs, it's normal and this is how we're going to handle it so that your clients don't freak out and you don't freak out because you know what's up.
And yeah, I mean, I feel like that pretty much covers all those things. The cooling. If you skip the cooling, a lot of times people will feel a little discomfort. And then the other thing I was gonna say is the post treatment kit with Factor
Mhm.
5 is perfect in this protocol because it has that mask, it has that
Yeah.
step by step. And so it really walks people through what to do. And this is a little bit more advanced than your basic res, which you could do a Regenerate on somebody just with Glide, if you had a really sensitive client or something. So this
Yeah.
is a super advanced protocol, but it's still really no downtime. I would say I didn't have I had like a little bit of flaking like here, but I wouldn't consider.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the way the protocols are written, you'll really have no downtime. The way I did it, like I went,
Yeah, you went rogue.
I
No, I'm
flipped
kidding.
it. But to be fair, the protocols weren't written when I was
Well,
messing
to be
around.
honest, you did the res and then you applied the RDS.
But I
Yeah,
also make sure that that tissue is dry so that it's not also neutralizing my RDS1
right.
with the
Right.
water content.
That typically is how we do self-neutralizing peels with res. So
Yeah.
it's not, there's a lot of options with this protocol.
Yeah.
So I kind of just feel, because I think I did the more aggressive one, which we'll get into. Let's get into the protocol.
Let's do it.
Just
Let's
like 4 or
start
5.
with the basics and then
Oh
go
yeah, because
aggressive. Don't
we're
jump
running.
into it.
All right, so a couple things I want to say about Regenerate before we do that. It's a Fitzpatrick neutral as well. So great for all fits, all fit skin types, and then great for some sensitive skins as well. So if you have people with like mild or moderate rosacea, that's not in a flare up or anything, they're still a candidate for res. And so when you're looking at your protocol and it's not designed like this one, these few that Tiffany has and I have put together for you, you're going to typically, like I said, be infusing serums. So usually when we're thinking about infusing serums, we have two choices, our optimal choice and our corrective choice. So we have like our hyaluronic acids, our humectants, peptides, growth factors, stem cells, our antioxidants, tyrosinase inhibitors, pre, post, probiotics, the cannabinoids, also CBD, all wonderful optimal choice serums. And what that typically means is that it's something that's usually available in back bar and retail. It's usually something that doesn't have any discomforting kind of sensation when applied to the skin on its own. And it's something that is free of or has a super, super, super low concentration of any acids. All those three things basically will make a serum be in the optimal choice category. And that just means you can really comfortably apply that serum prior to your Rezenerate for almost any client that walks through your door. Your corrective choice serums, you're going to work up to those. In a protocol like this, you'll probably work up to as well. You may want to do the RDS first, see how your client responds to it, and then bring in the Rezenerate, or maybe know how your client's going to respond to the Rezenerate before you add the RDS to it, just to kind of get a little bit of a feel for their skin. But when we're working with these more corrective choice acids, usually our AHAs, we're going to be mindful of a couple things. One is going to be the pH. So we typically recommend working at about a 3.5 to 4.5 pH for our serums when we're infusing. The molecular weight, so glycolic, right, it's going to have a lot smaller of a molecular weight compared to a mandelic acid. So that's going to impact the percentage of glycolic that we can use. So typically, I don't recommend infusing more than like a 2% glycolic, whereas with a mandelic, we can usually really comfortably work up to like a 10%. So consider those factors when you're working with your corrective choice. And then a couple other things I recommend is to not infuse the L-ascorbic acid form of vitamin C. It tends to be the most unstable and the most irritating, and a lot of clients will feel some discomfort with that. Anything that has sensation on its own will be magnified up to 25 times when we infuse that with Rezenerate. So remember, it has usually a lower absorption rate. So if we're really increasing the dose that it's given or the skin's receiving, we're also going to increase that response and that sensation that's associated with it. The other thing that we do is avoid infusing retinols, and that's usually really just because the increase in cell turnover from Regenerate combined with that increase in cellular turnover from retinols leads to a downtime peel. So or a downtime treatment. So we'll typically be expecting a good peeling or shedding around day 3 to 4. Usually takes up to 7 to 10 days for them to complete. So it's not necessarily bad or a complete no-no, but typically we're positioning res as a no downtime treatment. And so if you incorporate retinols in that, it will, of course, be giving you some downtime and basically almost guaranteed peeling. Res is also modality neutral, and we kind of touched on that a little bit when Chris was mentioning combining it with LED. You can combine it with dermaplaning, tons of different forms of exfoliation, And really, any no downtime device that you may be using in the treatment room, you can probably use that within the same session as Rezenerate. So, some contraindications for Rezenerate. The first two are all just really going to touch on the barrier. So, if our barrier is compromised, we're not really going to be able to repair those channels within that 15 to 20-minute period. And it also doesn't require or will benefit from any further disruption. So, if anyone is inflamed, sunburnt, blistered, they have a compromised barrier, they're chapped, or they're actively sensitized or in a reactive state, we are going to want to skip the Rezenerate for them that day and kind of manage those other issues. Of course, with anything, we want to be more mindful of our allergies and sensitivities because we are going to increase any reaction or irritation associated with that. We're not going to go over any bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. And if somebody is prone to cold sores, we do just let them know that any stimulation in that area can trigger a breakout. So it's something that they just want to be mindful of when getting this treatment. We don't do anybody or work on anybody with Rezenerate who's pregnant or breastfeeding because we've never done any testing on them. And we don't go over any open or cystic acne. We don't work on anybody who is actively on chemotherapy, whether it's oral, topical, any form of chemotherapy. Afterwards, we absolutely can. Chris has already touched on that. It's a great practice to talk to the oncologist and get with the doctor. And what I always really tell people is to just go back to the barrier and really do like that good analysis. And if that barrier is able to benefit from a Rezenerate treatment, then go forward.
I will say, Kelly, real quick on the cancer medication. Um, Absolutely chemotherapy. If there's a continued medication like tamoxifen, which is the most common one you'll run into, which is an estrogen blocker, and it's used for estrogen positive cancers. If they're on tamoxifen, they're fine to do these things with the sign off of their physician or oncologist if they're still seeing an oncologist for more regular check-ins. And the other thing is in the cancer world, we like to say you really need to hit that remission phase of there's a first remission of 2 years and then there's a 5-year remission. That 5 year is the golden mark before we really look at doing anything as a deeper treatment. And even then, still getting sign off from the team because you always want to protect yourself and your business.
Absolutely. Recent injectables or cosmetic surgery, you can for sure do these before, but after you get the Rezenerate, or I'm sorry, after you get the injectable, you're not going to want to Rezenerate. So 2 weeks after Botox, we say 3 weeks after filler. Waxing 5 to 7 days is a little conservative, but I would say spot on for sensitive clients. Usually you can get away with about 3 to 5 days with somebody who's a little bit more resilient. All right, I'm going to skip this part. Let's go into the protocol. So we'll start with the cleanse with the FACTORFIVE gel, or should we go into the video? Actually,
Yeah, let's do it.
let's read these questions real quick because I feel like Puerto Rico, I usually do LED after the treatment. Will the humidity trigger inflammation after this, or does it go back to technique? Humidity can trigger inflammation. It's typically not lasting. So once they get out of that kind of hot environment, if they could just kind of cool their skin, that will really help to control any of that response from the humidity. Oh, I love this. If the client has and I think we did say this might be a good idea. If the client has a barrier compromised skin, could you do the EXOFECTA instead?
Yeah, I was answering all these questions to
Oh,
host a
Tiffany, there you
panelist.
are. I
Yeah,
see.
so I've been answering all these to the wrong people.
Everybody can see the answer in there, though.
I would say for the question that just came in from Stephanie about having one and then going to the car and then having kind of 3 days downtime, um, I feel like I'm curious to know, and please let me know, Stephanie, if Denise, if she try and cool down her skin or do anything? Because I feel like that could make a really big difference. Like using a cold sheet mask or even just getting like cold compresses on after that type of heat. So that might be kind of a solution if you are having that sort of heat in that sort of situation. And also, I would say take the time to LED light them and maybe even use the beautiful Rezenerate cooled time, the little globes on them to also cool their skin down a bit.
Yeah, I would definitely be concerned if somebody was flared and uncomfortable for 3 days. Typically, like when Tiffany gave me the full treatment in Vegas, as we know, Vegas is very hot, plus we're working. And so when I was not red at all, and then I walked outside to get the Uber and go back to the hotel, and I walked into my hotel and I was like, oh wow, I didn't feel any discomfort at all, but I was like, oh, I didn't know I was that red under there. But
Mhm.
then like, I cooled my skin down and I was fine. But during that, like maybe it was 3 days, maybe it was two, I was getting like red and then unred. But I because I would cool myself down and or get into a air conditioned environment, but it was never a red that was like uncomfortable or like I didn't have any heat in my skin. So I feel like with this, we might want to dive more into that whole situation because I think it sounds like more than temperature is my gut instinct on that one.
I'm wondering too if maybe like at trade show, like I will say, having worked trade shows for a long time, sometimes we can get a bit tired. And then sometimes when you're tired, you can either go a little faster, and then that's how you can get some of that drag, which can delay healing time. Or sometimes I think as you get tired, you might accidentally add a little bit of pressure. So those could be other factors that kind of factored into that result. So which also reminded me to say, if you are newer to using Rezenerate, I think that when you're nervous, you tend to go faster. So consciously make
Mhm.
sure you're slowing yourself down, because it doesn't hurt you to go slower. But if you go too fast and start getting drag and like kind of scratching through the skin, that's where you're not going to get the result you're looking for.
And that's why I really like to recommend that people do pick up that device in between treatments. Like, I'm going to admit I don't. I've been doing this for a really long time. I
Yeah.
started with Res when I was at another company when they were like early on to so I feel like I've been using it for like 7 or 8 years now. So, I got so caught up in how long I've been using Res that I forgot what I was going to say. How embarrassing.
Um, what,
All right. All right. Yes. Let's talk about EXO and Res. All right. So this protocol, I did EXO and Res. So this is a list of the protocol. Tiffany, do you kind of want to go over it? I'm gonna bring up the
yeah,
video.
there's so many different ways to do it. So it kind of, again, like, what are your goals? How do you know this client? How many times have you worked on this client? So, I was letting you
Sound. Yeah.
go
So
through.
this client, to give a little background on this client, is my best friend since fifth grade, and she's had a lot of treatments. However, I will say she's coming in again for this.
Oh, good.
She literally harassed me about it and then booked a facial on October 1st, which is her birthday, to get it.
So she loved it.
Obsessed.
Okay, good.
She's obsessed because she's had so much. And she hasn't had a regular TCA before, but she's had a Jesner at least 3 times. She
Okay.
likes to peel peel. She's a peel peel girl. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she preferred this.
Okay, good, good, good. Because, really, you don't peel. So,
Yeah.
on
So we're
this,
doing a cleanse. I'm just doing the cleanse. This is a little pre-advisory.
okay.
BHAs, discontinue those retinoids. Let me ask you this, Tiffany. With res, we say discontinue like cosmeceutical grade retinoids, like three
Mm-hmm.
days pre and post, and then like
Mm-hmm.
trets and prescription grades 7 days prior and post. What is your recommendation just with Factor 5?
I'm going to say this as a blanket, and then I'm going to tell you what I know and saw. So, as a blanket in good practices, 3 to 5 days, right? But I did several case studies where I had them actually on the Factor 5 retinol day of, throughout the whole series, completely normal, fine, no um, irritation or anything. And I've also used it on people with Tret. I will say, if they are going to use Tret, because sometimes people don't know what they're using, and they don't know to disclose, like, oh, that's what I was using. Sorry. They will feel a little bit more of a spice and could have flaking, but I've not had any like bad or sour side effects from that. Do I think in good practice? Yes, discontinue.
Yeah, it's happened where people have forgotten
Yeah.
to ask their client, or the client forgotten whatever happened, and people have done, had a Rezenerate with vitamin A.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't stop using it. They just peel. Their skin's going to
Yeah.
be gorgeous, but I
Yeah,
usually recommend a post-peel care regimen for them for a few days.
for sure. I sent them with the PT kit and that, the post-treatment serum in there and the silk is really just soothing and hydrating.
I'd also like to just say really quickly, I apologize to anyone's comments who were just meant for hosts and panelists, and I've been reading them this entire time to everyone because I thought they were for everyone. So I do apologize for anyone that was meaning to ask just ask and got a group discussion for it. So my apologies, guys.
I always
Well,
put all the questions on blast, to be fair.
yeah, well, the opposite of that, I've been answering just you guys on all the questions.
Oh,
So,
that's why. Oh,
Oh, you've been sending them
really
only to
good.
us.
That's
Oh
really,
my
we're doing
God.
great. We're
So
doing
no
really
one's getting your answers. Okay, guys, we're
genius.
good.
all
Gotta go over
old.
them.
We're all old. Give us grace. It's also Monday.
It's Monday, and we're not. We look young though. We look young. All right,
It's
let's go
because
into
we
step.
do this treatment.
Okay,
Yes,
so the
I
Factor
was
5
so tight.
cleanser.
I was so tight, like, but not like I used a really bad cleanser tight. Like
Yeah,
I got a facelift, like good
from the
tight.
cleanser.
No, from the whole treatment.
Oh, from the whole treatment. So I will say with the EXOFECTA, she's my very best friend. I do feel a very firming effect any and every time that you use it. And the first time, one of the first times we used it, my husband's always my guinea pig. And I was like, I'm just going to do half your face and let's see what's going on. And he was like, oh my gosh, like, am I supposed to feel firm? And like his skin was visibly firmer. So you're going to feel like you've had something done in a good way. That's normal.
And like I said, I got it at the trade show. So I woke up the next day, I got my shower. I have this funniest video of me with my little shower cap on, and like I'm in the mirror, and like I was like because I was reflecting that light like
Yeah.
back to the mirror. Like it was crazy.
Bowling ball.
I'll have
Yeah.
to share it, but my shower cap is, really colorful and amazing. So we'll just decide if if that's a view for everybody's situation or not.
Yeah,
But
we do.
oh my God, like what
I
is
need it. I need it.
yeah.
Send it.
So we did the cleanse with the Factor 5 cleanser, and then we
Mhm.
did optional exfoliation. This can really be a lot of things, as you guys can see here. So I did an exfoliating mask. You could dermaplane. It was an enzyme mask that I did. You could do a gommage, microderm, hydroderm.
I
Tip
always do dermaplane.
dermaplane, I was gonna say, is your go-to. Do you do
Hmm.
exfoliation, Chris, prior to yours?
So after, because mine when I'm doing it with like the RDS, that one that I've done, I initially did not, and now with the woman you saw the two of, we've
Hmm.
since added in a very light dermaplane, like a three stroke
Yeah.
dermaplane, and then
Yeah.
stacking.
I immediately heard the skin lady in my head, but just like limited chugas, like a chug, chug, chug.
I count. I know she does the chugga chugga choo choo, and I can't remember which choo choo or chugga I'm on.
Yeah, but I just heard that and I was like, all right, so don't get to the choo-choo. So we did a little exfoliation in this, so I'm going to get that taken off. And then in this protocol, I did RDS1 first, which I feel like typically I say when you apply the peel first and then regenerate it, I think it ends up being the most aggressive
Yes.
than when you res and then apply it. So here
Yeah.
I'm just using a peel prep that I have. Also, I saw you guys didn't take the lid off, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? I'm supposed to
The
put
lip.
like a little cannula
Oh,
through.
you did.
Okay.
Is
You
Yeah,
this
have
and
over her
Chris,
to,
don't
face?
yell at me because she
Over
got
I'm
her
gonna
eye
yell
face.
at
protection
you.
on.
Put your eye protection
Don't
on.
yell at me, Chris. I was like, damn it, she said it's her pet peeve.
You know what though? It's because
This
I'm
is
a,
what not to do.
well, it's
Don't
because
do it.
I trust you, but it's the new esthetician who's not as
You
practiced and it's
shouldn't.
gonna happen to them.
I have the eye shields. I should have just
Hold
put
on.
them
Look
on.
at that beautiful
Put the
girl
big
right there. Oh, yeah.
So anyway,
um
can we talk about how you do it real quick? Because
Yeah. Okay.
I did
I'm
it
going to tell
wrong.
you how I do it. I'm more conservative approach. I feel like that's why I love that Chris is like, I feel like more aggressive approach, but not really. I mean, just that's the way you do it, right? So there's a couple ways that you can do it. I did an cleansed exfoliation with dermaplane, did RDS1 for 5 minutes, remove. Then I do the EXO. And if you don't want to do the EXO, this is where you would insert RDS2. So I did Rezenerate with the actual healing ingredients first, the first time that I do it.
And which is what we did here. So we did our optional
Mhm.
exfoliation.
Mhm.
We really let Chris down here because I do agree. I should have had the eye protection on. I should have had it. So we do our application of the RDS. We're massaging, I believe, upwards and outwards. I wanted to ask you too, how long do you massage? I wasn't sure if I should have been massaging it longer.
You talking about RDS1? I usually
Yeah.
just, it takes me about 5 to 7 minutes.
Okay, that's what I did.
You want the tacky feeling.
Yeah, when you
Yeah.
start to feel those gloves kind of like lift,
Yeah.
that's
So
your sign move.
I left it on for 7 or 8.
That's
Yeah,
good.
7 or 8. And then I moved into applying our exo. So that's what I'm doing right now is I'm
Good.
activating those exosomes.
I
Thanks.
just want to answer Stephanie's question real quick
Yeah.
about which direction to go. So, Stephanie, what we're trying to say is there are different ways to utilize this, but we're just trying to empower you with the knowledge on which way to go. So, to be safe, first time doing this with a client, I would say apply the RDS1, then Regenerate in healing ingredients. However, if you've got Chris on the table and we've worked on her skin 15 times, it's okay to exfoliate, apply the RDS1, which is the chemical peel, and res that in. And then remove and apply your other steps. So I hope that helps.
So, oh, she has these directions in here wrong. So what I did here was oh no, that's right, actually. We did the res immediately after I applied the EXOFECTA. So I applied, as you saw, I did applied that EXOFECTA to the skin again with that again with the cannula and syringe.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did the same massaging with that. And then I went into the res. So I did apply high res glide in sections. And I am doing those little 1 inch areas. So you can see I apply that glide. I like to paint it on really thick.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see it. I want to see it. Um, and typically this pass that you're saying will do this over the full face, and that's what we call the primary pass. You can do a detail pass or a secondary pass, which Chris mentioned a little bit earlier. So if there's a certain area where you kind of want to go in and show a little bit more attention, you can absolutely do that. It's not something I do with every client, but if somebody had like some 11s that they wanted to target or something, or even if they had a little bit of pigmentation, you can do that same pattern, like that crosshatch, or you can do like some stamping. Um, However you want to kind of deliver it, there's, 2 different methods to the technique on that secondary. But on the first pass, it is always going to be the crosshatch. And you'll just do that one time across the full face. And so after I completed the res portion, that's when I applied the RDS too.
Mm-hmm. And
And
we'll have step-by-step protocols that they
yeah.
can.
I feel like let me take this back just a second for us all if I can. You're going to be getting multiple protocols. So we have a few different protocols for you. One of them has your Rezenerate and your RDS treatment. We have another that's including Rezenerate and your EXOFECTA, and then another that includes both of those. Correct me if I'm wrong, ladies.
Yeah, there's 3 levels.
Yep, 3 levels. And so you're getting different options. We want you to first stick to the protocols as they're written. What I am letting you know is my results that I did with a little bit of a flipping of the order. And what we'll do is I will team up with these ladies and we will put together like Chris's protocol and release that out to you so it's not confusing. Um, and so I'm sorry for the flip-flopping back and forth a little bit or any confusion on what to follow. You're going to follow the protocols. We'll release mine as a more advanced that you can do after you first go through the original protocols.
Thank you, Chris, because
Yep.
Thank you guys.
Cool.
I know there's a lot of flip-flopping when we're talking, and I apologize for that.
Well,
We're trying
and
to
the beauty of it
go.
is, right, too, is that like when you're in the treatment room, everything can be customized. And as you're going, you're reading the skin as you go. So as long as you're reading the skin, there's really no wrong way to do anything.
There's so many, yeah, and I've always said that because there's really I've heard a lot of people sometimes in the industries like say, I'll never microderm and do a chemical peel.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I've microdermed and done a chemical peel, and I would do it again. So I think it's hard when you would say when you kind of like put those hard lines in place. We
Mm-hmm.
we are really looking at the skin. We're talking to the client that day. Really, I mean, we could have one idea in our mind for what's going to happen, and they could come in and we might have to completely scrap and redo. So, for sure, there's a lot of different ways to achieve the same result. I think when you get these protocols, will kind of give you a little bit of insight on like this one is a little bit more gentle. This one's going to give you a little bit more of an advanced result and kind of level up. But one thing that I always say to everybody, if you're new with res, and if you are going to invest in this protocol, really get comfortable with res first. Do just some high res glide, like treatments on your hand, then move over to your face. Definitely give yourself a treatment. For sure, you want to experience it. So you can kind of understand like what happens if I apply too much pressure? How does that feel? What does high feel like on the forehead? Why does Kelly recommend I use low? All over the whole face. And maybe I don't want to use low over the whole face. Maybe I want to go to medium here, but then Kelly is going to tell you to always go to low on the forehead, around the eyes, nose, and lips. And you'll go to the forehead and you'll be like, oh, yeah, there's not a lot of fat there. It's very kind of bony. It feels a little bit more tapping like and not just vibrational. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust. So you're going to get in the treatment room, you're going to do your own thing. But until you're really comfortable with the res and you're really comfortable with like RDS and EXO together, and then all three of them together, proceed with caution. Use your best
Mm-hmm.
expertise and then kind of build from there. See what you can do with the basics and then build on it from there. All right.
Yep.
So I'm going to kind of skip all this stuff and I want to go into pricing. Now let's go back to pricing. So I'm just giving a scenario and you're doing your RDS only. That can be about 250. This is a range, but Tiffany, correct me if I'm wrong, but 250 is
That's a good average.
it's a good average. So then if you're doing FACTORFIVE, you're adding the RDS and you're going to add the post-treatment kit, you're going to up that service to 325.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to add EXOFECTA to that, we're going to take that service up to 485.
Correct.
Now, when we do the Rezenerate, add that on, typically for a face add-on, the high end is 100. So I usually charge about 65, but most people charge more than me and charge about 100.
Mm-hmm.
For the neck add-on, it can range between 50 to 100. I just charge 65, period. So if I have to use it for you, it's 65. Um, so when we combine that with the RDS, I've kind of done the same thing. So FACTORFIVE RDS plus Rezenerate could be 400 to 450. RDS Rezenerate post-treatment kit 475 to 525. RDS post-treatment EXOFECTA Rezenerate 635 to 685. And this assumes that you're doing full face and neck with all the goodies.
Yeah, I would recommend that.
And then
Uh,
I did think we had one more good question, or I didn't actually look at the Q&As,
I
but
was just gonna say one of them from the Q&As was good that I know for Rezenerate, the answer is no, you don't have to have a client that's a higher fits on tyrosinase inhibitors. Tiffany, what's your take on, because they're also asking for using the RDS system. So if you could chat on RDS,
Yeah.
do we need to do any tyrosinase inhibition, any pigment control? And then additionally on the Exofecta, is there any need for that?
Definitely not for the EXOFECTA. I would say as good protocol for anyone, right? Like I definitely would have every one of my clients on a tyrosinase
that's how I
inhibitor.
feel. everybody.
period. But I also see that how Factor 5 products, just because we don't have one per se that says it is a tyrosinase inhibitor, I do know and, believe what I see in these retail products, how they do fight that pigment with these factors and this vitamin C. So I would say best practices, yes. Have I done it without it? Yes. Um,
I think a big factor, though, too, to remember when you have a higher Fitzpatrick client is with RDS and how that system is created, you're not at a risk of hypopigmentation.
correct.
Um, And hyperpigmentation has a lot to do with also your post-care situation.
Yep.
You could also control that preemptively on the prep, which I absolutely agree with and am for. Um, but when you're using the Factor 5 system, because it takes such a big focus on really modulating those inflammatory responses where we don't want them,
Mhm.
I don't find any issue, and I've done this on some of my
Same.
higher fits clients, without a prep as a free service for them being like, this shouldn't do anything.
Right.
Check it out. And they
Yeah.
were so glowy and they were like, do you need to check it again? I
Yeah.
was like, no, I
We
know
do six
now.
more times.
Yeah, it's a close personal friend, by the way. So don't anybody come for me on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, thank
I
you. Sorry,
agree.
back to y'all. So
Yeah, all right. No syringes and or cannulas come with the products. You will need to grab those. And then we did get a question about series, which I didn't come up with a series price for this. But do you have do you do it have a series recommendation to for this
Yeah, I would just do like a percentage off, especially if they're gonna just pay it up front, like a 10%, or you can use like your retail products that are bonus. That's a $348 retail bonus. So however you want to utilize that. But if they're gonna pay up front, I would definitely take like a percentage off or value added with those two products.
yeah.
I do
And
the
sometimes
10
if
and
people aren't
20.
ready to like schedule out their series, I will,
Yeah.
if I know they want a series, I will take like if they book that the next service at their current service, when I know they're doing a series, I'll take like a dollar amount off that. That way, if like they decide to stop, like whatever, they haven't paid all
Hmm.
up front, but they're not, they're like getting that discount like piecemeal.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. I do 10% off if they pay upfront for a series of 3 and 20%
Mhm.
off if they do a series of
Oh,
6.
wow. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, when you do the 10 to the 20, psychologically it pushes the client to want the 20% and
For
to
sure.
double. And then I also want them there, but from the result side of it, not from like
Yeah.
the monetary side.
Well, yeah, because we know, and I say this all the time, I feel like my team's probably like, what the heck? Results, when you drive results, that's going to drive retention. That's just going to drive revenue. So,
And trust. I think that's
yeah,
another big
loyalty,
thing.
trust
So,
and loyalty.
Loyalty, loyalty.
what's the shelf life for the Factor 5 treatment RDS and
Oh,
EXOFECTA
already,
unopened?
I would say 6 months RDS. EXOFECTA, that's still being determined. I mean, it could be infinite.
Yeah,
So,
because the freeze dried nature of it does kind of
yeah.
lend itself to
Uh-huh.
not being so.
Yeah.
Chris, can you repeat your deal, please?
My deal.
Oh, I think
10
it's
and
a 10
20.
20. I think your series.
Oh, sorry. I was like, what deal? If they do a series of 3, I take 10% off if they're paying all up front. If they are doing a series of 6, I will take 20% off.
It's good.
Awesome. All right. When do we get these protocols? If you're a device owner, they should be up on the Dropbox right now, but I'll check immediately after this just to make sure. Actually, I think I only put level 3 in res format, so I'll have to do level 1 and 2 still.
Okay.
Level 3, which is the one that we did the video for, should be on the Dropbox. If not, it will be shortly after this. And then if you're a Factor 5 member, I think, Tiffany, you have all these protocols in the Factor 5 format.
Yeah, once you're on our wholesale side,
Once you're on the
you have
wholesale, same with
assets.
us. Yeah. Once you purchase the device, it's going to unlock your education section and your access to the Dropbox, which is where all those protocols will be. It sounds pretty similar with Factor 5. And then I'll be sending out an email either today or tomorrow morning please forgive me, guys, and don't send Jaylene a message until tomorrow afternoon if I haven't sent it yet.
Yeah, and you guys will be receiving probably a little bit later my little version of the protocol to help clear up any
Mhm.
confusion. So we'll send that out separately probably.
And feel free to reach out to us if you have any
Yeah.
questions. Here's my email at the end. Tiffany, did you
Yeah, I'm gonna.
type yours in the awesome? And I can always
Uh,
direct you to Tiffany, and vice versa if you guys have any questions. This webinar is going to be available until the 30th. So definitely watch that as many times as you can. And then those protocols are going to be available forever until we update them. And if we
mhm.
need it, until Factor Five's like, oh my God, move over EXOFECTA, which I don't know. Tiffany's gonna be like, don't push my best friend aside.
No,
Well,
I love her.
I know, right?
and I think the other thing to just note on here is in that follow-up email, it will also have instructions for how to access the drop boxes, how to get involved with opening your Rezenerate or Factor 5 or both accounts, depending on what you already have in your practice. And so there will be direction for that so we can get you guys the access.
We got you.
All right. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to just reach out to us directly. And we really thank you for spending your Monday with us. We went over a little bit, but it was all such good info. I hope you're all not too disappointed that we kept you a little longer than normal.
You kidding me? It's Monday Fun Day. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you so much.